My name is Nana Nadal. For this episode, I've invited a grief and transitions coach because I want to understand how somebody like her can help us during this time of uncertainty and disruption. Please join my conversation with Miss Cathy Sanchez Babao. Hi, Miss Cathy. Welcome to my pretend TV show. Thank you for agreeing to be my pretend guest for today.
My pleasure, Nana. Thank you for having me this afternoon.
Okay, so just to introduce you to our pretend audience, no? So Miss Cathy Sanchez Babao is a book author. She's also a columnist for the Philippine Daily Inquirer, and she's a grief and transitions coach. So for today, I want to focus on your role as a grief and transitions coach. Diba? So ano ba yun? What do you do as a grief and transitions coach?
Well, basically, I help people who are going through a major change in life or a major loss. When we say grief, Nana, diba, it always doesn't mean death. Grief can result from any type of loss. No, so when we say that loss of a marriage, loss of a pet, loss of a job, loss of feeling of self, all the different types of losses. So I accompany my clients and journey with them, and bring them hopefully to a place where, they're able to because when my clients come, usually there's no clarity, there's a lot of chaos, they don't feel hopeful, they're confused. So we journey together. I journey together with them and bring them to the other side. So when they're on the other side, then my mission is done.
So is that the part of your title na transitions? You help them transition to
Yes.
that better.
Yes, I bring them to the other side, wherever that other side might be or might mean for them. Diba?
Right now, we are going through a major transition.
Oh yeah,
Parang
definitely.
collective ang global, no? Global.
Yes.
We are transitioning to, we don't even know what.
Yeah, for the first time in our lives, in our history, diba, the whole world is actually going through a major transition, diba? I like to call it's a liminal space, diba? In fact, I wrote about it in my column last Sunday. You're between and betwixt, diba? You're here but you're not quite there. So how do you live in this period of while you are in the liminal space, diba? What is required of you, and how can you make it through, basically, diba? What is there to expect?
It's not easy, it has been very difficult for many people.
Yes.
And how do you manage this, like you said, to help them transition? How do you help other people? Kunwari ako, and then my friend or a family member, if I see that person struggling with all these changes. First of all, what are the signs that somebody is having difficulty?
Well, to begin with, it's really a difficult time, diba? It's a difficult period in our history. Diba? A lot of people say, well, okay, now is the time to reset, to reboot, to realign, to whatever, to refresh, to rest. It can be many, many things. It can be whatever it is that, you want it to be. But, the realities are there, right? There's so many changes that we need to adjust to. So usually people who come to me because they're anxious, diba? They're anxious about many things. For the first time, they're like cooped up at home the whole time, and they're fearful of the virus. I mean, that's a valid fear. You're anxious of getting sick, diba? They're anxious of the workload. They're fearful for their family. Some people come because they're having problems with their relationships, diba? They're like cooped up in one house 24/7, diba? I mean, many things talaga can happen during this period. Now, how do they manifest? They can manifest as anger, fear, short-tempered, low energy, sleep problems, although insomnia is like, parang it's a reality now for many people.
Yes.
Pandemic insomnia, right? Because like, because your whole schedule has been, has been changed. I mean, there's so many uncertainties. There are so many unknowns. So of course, your mind will like, diba, run and run and run and run. So what's the best way to go through this period is, number one is you really have to cut yourself some slack,
Be
right?
kind to yourself.
Mind to yourself. Yeah, now is the time really to make sure that you allot time for self-care, di ba? Lower your expectations. What you were pre-lockdown, pre-ECQ, pre-pandemic, you cannot expect to be also at the same levels because we're living in extraordinary
So
times.
yung productivity, it's normal that your productivity level goes down.
Right, your
There's also a
productivity
lot
will
of
be
talk
lower.
online about this is your chance to learn a new skill, finish
Right.
reading all the books that are waiting that have been waiting for you,
Mm-hmm.
or get that body you've been wanting. Yes,
Right.
for a lot of people, it hasn't been that way.
Exactly. I mean, suerte if like, okay, for the first time, I'm gonna like follow this exercise program on YouTube, diba? I guess kung dati, disiplinado ka na talaga about your workout program, then it's easy to segue into that, diba? But if it's like, it's your first time to be trying it out, parang, okay, be kind to yourself. Maybe this week you can do it twice. Maybe next week you do it thrice, then 4 times. So, you build it up, di ba? So, it's good also to have a goal, di ba? Para pag sasabihin mo, okay, after 30 days, I'll be exercising, 3, 4 times a week, di ba? Ganyan. It's good to have like goals, or like if you enroll in an online course, then you say, it's a 7-week course, di ba? But sometimes you can't really complete. I mean, there are days na parang, I don't want to do it, diba? Pero naka-sign up ka na and all that. And because a lot of things are free now, diba? So parang hindi ka masyadong, the push is not as much as if you had paid for it, right? But even then, okay, pwede naman siyang i-repeat. I know the courses now are designed to like, you can restart it at any time. Maybe just tell yourself, okay, maybe after 60 days, matatapos ka na to, diba? So, start again. Parang now it's like, okay, we take it one day at a time. So, just keep restarting and restarting, di ba? And eventually eventually you'll find your groove back, di ba? You'll get your groove back. I mean, not to 100% maybe, but you get up to 50, 75%, I think that's fine given all that, given all these things that we have to live with nowadays.
So that's one, cut yourself some slack. Ano
Yeah.
pa ang magandang
Get yourself some slack. Be kind to yourself. Make time to spend time by yourself. In solitude. Solitude is important, especially if you're like in a house with many people, di ba? I mean, surely you can find some space kahit sa banyo lang, di ba? Kahit during your bathroom time or extend your bath time so that you have like some time for solitude. I mean, if you have a garden, I guess that's so second is solitude. Third is like if you
Why
can
is
spend,
solitude important?
because that's when you recenter, diba? Parang you shut everything off. And then in solitude is either you spend time in meditation or you spend time in prayer or something that, feeds your spirit. Something that feeds your spirit. I guess that's an important note also. Siguro during this time, we need to make a conscious effort to feed our bodies. So I guess with exercise. Exercise, yon. Siguro if I have a third point. Sorry, I'm jumping. My third point is like exercise. Get in some exercise. Even if you're the type who you never, ako lalo na, if you're the type who never exercise, then you should, now is the time to start it, di ba? Where was I? So yon, feed your body. Eat well. Try to eat well as much as you can. Not all junk food, or like, basta, not junk food. Eat healthy, eat fresh as much as you can. Sleep. Sleep is so important. Make sure you get like, for me, that's like number one, is sleep. Because if you don't get enough rest, talagang that's when your anxiety will kick in. That's when your depression will kick in. That's when all sorts of other things will kick in. You lower your immunity if you don't get if you don't get enough sleep. So talagang ano, like for me, I'm glad, I don't want to say I'm glad this happened, but you know, I sleep better now, in fact. I mean, it was a struggle at first, but now I'm able to sleep more hours, which I could never do before this whole thing happened.
Can you
So
share
now,
some tips on how to get better sleep? I struggle with that personally
okay,
now. Well,
yeah.
parang forever ko naman struggle yan. Mas
Right. Well, may ibang tao talaga parang, ewan ko ba, parang baliktad, no? Baliktad yung schedule nila. But, you know, if you're the type naman na parang, oh, I wanna like get into a decent bedtime hour, gadgets really and time, you know, online is the number one that you need to take out like an hour before. Kunyari, you wanna be asleep by 12. So by siguro I would say 10:30, quit all the gadgets na. Yeah, quit all the gadgets.
1.5 hours before.
Yes, di ba? Lalo na kung yun talagang default mo. Eh.
Mhm.
So, at least, yeah. Ako, I do it an hour and a half before. So, you have a bedtime ritual. Di ba? I don't know, you light you have some essential oil there, you turn off all the lights, or you just have a lamp to read, di ba? I mean, and when I say read a real book, not, you know,
Or printed.
paper printed, yeah, not yung sa digital. Yeah, kasi even if it's digital, may ano pa rin yun, may ilaw pa din yun eh. So the tendency is like, it will really keep you awake, di ba? Well, you can use your phone in the sense that you can play bedtime music, you know, calm music, or play yourself a bedtime story. Di ba yung Audible, I think now has like a free program. I'm not sure if it's still running, but I know meron sila dati yung 30 days. So you can select stories and then play it. And then, you know, I've done it a few times. Effective siya.
Oh, sorry.
Kasi yung boses, kalma. Alam mo yun, yung talagang parang, and of course, you pick the stories naman, di ba? Like, I mean, there's a lot of dami, you know, wag naman tama, wag yung horror, wag yung suspense, yung action, kasi di ba isip mo parang, okay, what's next? So I'm not gonna sleep yet because I want to know what happens next. Yun.
Ako pa naginipan ko yan.
O, wag, di ba? Wag. So, dapat mga nakaka-relax na paggabi. Like I had the client, yung parang na-anxious daw siya pagka babaksak na yung araw, ganyan, madilim na. So I said, so what do you do around, you know, 4, 5 o'clock? So, pala, he checks the news, you know, the news, ganon. So, syempre na-agitate na siya pagka ano. So, we do, okay, we switch it around, read the news, limit your news reading, but read it also earlier in the day. Anyway, yung balita naman at 6:00, parehas pa rin yun the next day. Diba? Magbabago. So, you have to be careful what you feed your mind talaga. Really, you really need to be careful about what you feed your mind, especially when it's like close to bedtime.
So for other people, so those are tips for me to help myself. If I see somebody, kunwari, a family member, a friend, who I feel is struggling with what's going on, pero alam mo na, may tayo, wala, hindi yan, okay lang ako, di ba? What's the best way to approach this person? Or are there subtle things I can do to kind of help that person without that person knowing that I'm trying to do?
Oo, mahirap kasi pag hindi naman sila nagtatanong, di ba? And then you like jump into it. But if in conversation, then this is why it's so important to listen, di ba? Sometimes you can pick up on something that they say, di ba? And then you can like engage them in a conversation, or you can ask probing questions, and then probably share your own experience, di ba? Or share some suggestions. Uy, have you tried like this, like that, ganyan, di ba? Oh, and then maybe like a week later, you can check in again on your friend and say, oh, how's your sleep, di ba? Oh, how's your sleep? Has it improved? Did you try ganito, ganyan? So that's one way that you can do it na disimulado, di ba?
Another thing that's very sensitive now, because a lot of people are going through loss
Yes.
In the sense of the death of a loved one or the death of people we know, di ba?
Mhm.
With COVID-19 or even if hindi COVID-19, yung mga namamatay ngayon, hindi ka anong tawag, makadami.
Condole.
Ay, oo,
Yeah. Yeah.
diba? You can't go to the
Yes.
wake, you can't even have wakes.
Right. Right.
How do you deal with that now?
You mean to say if you're a friend from the point of view of someone knowing someone's family member passed away, ganun ba? Is that your question? Yeah. Well, yes. First of all, no, it's it's never easy to lose a loved one, right? But the circumstances now make it even doubly, triple difficult, such that it really complicates the grief that the family or the friends, go through. Because number one, it's like when they're dying, you don't even get to see them. The most is like you can just, talk to them, diba? I mean, thank God there were like, diba, you see on the news, there are nurses, there are doctors that keep them company until they go. But that's very difficult for the family, diba? Or very difficult if you have a friend, ganyan. And then you don't even, I don't know how it is now, but you don't even get to see them because you don't get to see the body because diretso na, diba, into the funeral home and then straight into cremation, right? So all you just get is the ashes. Ganyan. I really don't know if the families now can see. No, I have
Parang
to check.
hindi pa rin.
Parang hindi pa rin, di ba? Oo, yeah. So they're in an urn already. So you bring home the urn, di ba? And that's all you have left. And you can't have a wake. You can't have like your well, some people they just keep the urn muna because they want to do a ceremony of remembrance at a future time, which I think will be very good for families, which I think will be very helpful. No, you can even postpone it to like maybe a year, next year, diba? 1 year later. So there's really no rush to inner the to put the ashes into the crypt, right? Yeah.
Why is it, sorry, isingit ko lang, why is it important to have that ceremony or to
Okay.
week?
Okay. Ceremony of remembrance because as a society, 'di ba, that's how we're wired to comfort others, 'di ba? And we find strength in receiving the comfort of other people. So when people go to wakes, 'di ba, ayan, they condole, they share stories, they tell stories, they share their remembrances about the person who passed away. So it's important to have that. No? It will be good for the families to have that. At the same time, it will be good for the grievers to have that because it's a coming together, di ba? That's why now I encourage you, kunyari, namatayan. So usually sa Catholic, di ba, may 9-day novena, right? So I encourage families to come together on Zoom or whatever platform, di ba? And then somebody leads the prayer. They
So
have
gawin
prayer.
pa rin
I'm sorry.
virtually. It would be good for them to still do those
Yes,
things.
yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Some families have put up a Facebook memorial page, yung ganon, so that parang if people want to remember, they can like post their pictures together there, or they can post comments or post stories. So that's a creative, that's an alternative way of grieving during this period. Yeah, which brings me to the subject of how can you help, diba? So call, di ba? Call either landline or call, on text, message, Zoom, FaceTime, di ba? One-on-one time with the person because kailangan pa rin yun Kailangan pa rin yung comfort, di ba? It's extraordinary circumstances. You have to do extraordinary measures also to offer your comfort to your friend or to your family member.
You mentioned extraordinary circumstances. What I think is so difficult and different about what we're going through now is walang point B. Parang it's not okay now, we're in point A,
Exactly.
ECQ, and then GCQ, and then I don't know, di ba? People are saying, babalik na naman daw yan.
Right.
There's,
Yeah, you don't really know until we find the vaccine. And your question is, when is that vaccine going to come and how
Right.
long before it hits our shores, diba? And what do we do for the time being, right? So
So
I
ito
think
sa transition na diretso, parang there's so much uncertainty talaga. That is also a different struggle, di ba? Yung not knowing. I think it's different when you know that you're going to a point B, even if it's a different point B, a difficult point B. Pero ito parang, I don't really know.
yes, and there's so many unknowns because the entire world, this is new for us, di ba? We've all never had this experience. So, para tayong ano ngayon, learn as you go, di ba?
Yeah.
Adjust to whatever is there. I mean, really, even the way you do your groceries, di ba? Even the things that you can buy from the supermarket, parang adjust mo, di ba? You know, it's really going, what really matters now is I think you have your basics in place. So it's really like going back to the basics. What is important to you? It's a good question to ask yourself. What is important to me? Number one, health, di ba? Of course, health of myself and health of my loved ones, di ba? Number two is shelter, di ba? So, you know, if you have a home. Three is food security, di ba? And provisions, right? So these are the essentials. For a while, it's like the highlight of my week really was just driving my kids to the supermarket, you know, or going to the supermarket, di ba? But it is what it is, right? It is what it is. For some people, the highlight of their week may be like getting together with friends on Zoom on a Friday night, right? So, or for some other people, it's mass every day, di ba? So, talagang so many things are changing and you can't like do long-range planning, di ba? Because ang daming uncertainties eh. So, I think you really have to learn to take it a day at a time, 2 days at a time, you know?
Yeah.
Week at a time, maybe. It's a mindset. So, medyo control freak ka. Talagang wow. Ang dami mong adjustments this time, di ba? Ang dami mong, if you're living alone, right? You know, and you're by yourself. So, that's also a lot of, that's also a lot of adjustments. But thank God for technology, right? For enabling us to have this conversation, right? You imagine what it was like during previous pandemics or
Even if you write a letter, nobody's going to deliver it because the mailman.
yes, that's right. Yeah. So gratitude, I think, also is an important, is an important thing to cultivate during this time. Although we have lost so many things or we lose out on so many things, pare-parehas naman tayo eh, di ba? It's the global community has lost so much in so many ways. And yet, right, you can always still find something to be thankful for, di ba? I mean, it's like, mga ganito na. A few hours from now, the sun will set. And, I thank God that I have a nice sunset view, para bang, okay, it's the end of another day of quarantine, but, here's this sunset in front of me. Diba? So you thank God for your dog. You thank God for whatever, for the food on your table, right? So cultivate gratitude in spite of everything. And another thing I think that helps us carry us through is kindness, diba? Kindness and compassion, not just to yourself, but also to other people, right? There's no excuse not to help because there are so many ways to help, diba? You don't have to spend. You can share in your talent, whatever, right? So
You can reach out.
reach out, yeah.
Yeah.
This thing that you're doing, Nana, your pretend TV, you're like, interviewing people and sharing knowledge and sharing. This is a way of, a way of helping out because it goes up on the web, right? For everybody to see, and hopefully people will pick up things, diba? In the conversations that they hear. So, dami, so many ways of. It's also so many ways of doing things, new things. There will be new ways of working and new ways of living, right? So,
There's so much to discover now, and we're being more creative and resourceful.
right.
Help. If they want your help, if the going is getting too tough for them, and they want to reach out to you, and how do you say, consult ba?
Right.
How does it go? Like I call you, and then
Yes. So people will either call me, message me.
if I'm a stranger, di ba? Hi, medyo nahirapan ako.
Right. Well, they can email. Well, they can email me. You can like put my email somewhere here, diba? On this frame. Yeah,
Your
they
email address.
yeah, they can email me in that address or they can message me on Facebook. Although sometimes mahirap yun kasi it falls into another mailbox, right? If we're not friends on Facebook. But those are the ways that people have reached out to me. And then what happens is, I respond to them and, I tell them that nowadays it's a 1 hour Zoom session. Because that's the way I think many coaches and many counselors and many psychiatrists are going to proceed with their practice for the next few months. Because it's kind of not like safe both for the client or patient and for the doctor or counselor to be sitting face to face for an hour. It's not practical also kasi nakamask tayo parehas. So we will not be reading each other's signs and signals, right? So it's a Zoom session, 1 hour Zoom session. And then that's how it that's how it works. It depends na. Sometimes I see people twice, some thrice. It really all depends on the issue that we have at hand. Minsan once lang okay na. So there.
Also, which brings me to that question that I missed out on earlier. How long is the acceptable period of transition? Dapat ba after 3 months we've fully adjusted to this, or
It's also case-to-case basis. And again, we also really don't know, di ba? This can go on for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. But on average, usually it takes about, depending on the personality and the circumstances, and that's why it's a case-to-case basis. I would say sometimes 3 to 6 months. So from the beginning of our lockdown, you count March 15, di ba? For some, ang bilis, For some, actually, parang now pa lang sila talaga nagkaka-routine and all that. Yeah.
yung na-accept din, di ba? Initially, you're in denial na, no, tomorrow it's gonna be fine.
So don't wonder if also, why am I feeling like more tired now than I was when in the old life, let's call it in the old life pre-pandemic, di ba? It's expected because your brain is dealing with so many things and so many changes. Diba? Like I told you earlier, it's like, this is really like a grief experience. It's like you've lost somebody, and so how do you proceed? Diba? So you take it slowly, but eventually you'll get there, and eventually you will find your new normal, right? The new normal will be different for everybody. Your new normal will be different from mine. Diba? Even my new normal is different from my children, diba? Because we have different priorities, we have different activities. So you'll get there. We'll all get there.
And I'd like to believe that the new normal doesn't necessarily have to be worse than our old normal.
That's right. It will be different, but it doesn't have to be worse. Okay, it may be difficult, of course, because circumstances, but there will always be that silver lining in that new normal, diba? Like I know a lot of people, it's like ayoko na nga bumalik sa dati, diba? Yung parang ang dami mo kasing time ngayon magmuni-muni at mag-realization, diba? So then you realize, okay, there are a lot of parts of this way of life that I like, diba? So I'm sure ikaw, you have a lot of personal, realizations.
Basta gusto ko lang mawala yung virus.
Ako din.
No? Yung part na yun ang gusto kong mawala.
Like to begin with, di ba? I mean, sunrise and sunsets now are so much more beautiful than what they used to be, right? The air is cleaner, di ba? The air is cleaner. Yeah, talaga, tsaka less stress. In a way, it's less stress overall. I mean, there's still stress, but a lot of things are,
good things.
For the better. Yes, good things. Yeah, good things. We can expect good things to happen. Nasa pananaw mo naman yun eh. Diba?
And this was a good conversation.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Time has flown so fast.
Oh, yeah. So please invite them to your social media accounts, I guess. They can follow you.
Yes. Yeah, I have my Facebook, Cathy Sanchez Babao, and then on Instagram, it's Cathy Babao. So basically just those two. And I have a blog pala. Adventures by Kate. Yeah.
Adventures by Kate.
Adventuresbykate.com. Yes.
And your email address
is I'll just give the ano na lang, goodgriefph@gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Cathy.
Thank you, Nanay. It was nice to see you and to talk to you again. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and thank you to all those who joined us for this episode of My Pretend TV Show.